This week we actually got some really interesting patch notes, but unfortunately I was out at Masuna fishing camp with consistent power cuts, meaning I couldn't really check them, much less alone do a full recording. I did have some people send me a load of screenshots on Discord, so I had a bit of a preparation ahead of time, but we are back in Bulawayo now, and that gives me an opportunity to go through these properly. Now of course these patch notes are therefore already live, but I thought it'd still be worth me going through, adding my thoughts and opinions, and talking a little bit about how these actually work, how they affect the game and what it means going forward, because there is some interesting stuff that I had questions about beforehand. Now that I've been a little bit hands-on with it yesterday evening and this morning, I can actually give a bit of a better insight. Anyway, if you enjoy this video, please let me know by hitting like on it, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you do want to go the extra mile to help support the channel, I have both a Patreon page and a Redbubble merchandise store that you can check out. Both links are in the description. Anyway, let's jump right in. So first of all, we have a new Concord pass. Now this actually starts tomorrow. It's always on a Friday, so we haven't been able to have a proper look at this, but there's some interesting new changes. Now, the first big change to this, I'll come back up and have a look at the other bits here, is at the bottom. To lighten the burden on capsuleers, some changes have been made. The max reward level has been lowered, the weekly point limit has also been lowered, but the total number of Concord pass rewards remains unchanged. Basically, I've already seen a lot of panic about this online, going, oh, netties are still charging the same thing for less. No, they're not. They're just, you have to do less each week. Instead of 17,050 points each week, you might have to only get 1,500, but the amount of levels has also been reduced accordingly, so you still kind of achieve the same amount over the same time, you just don't have to be online as much. Now, I'm kind of in two minds about this. On one hand, it's kind of nice that it's easier to hit that weekly limit, and thus much easier to max out the pass now. But at the same token, it's much easier, and I kind of didn't find it personally difficult to begin with. I think, honestly, overall this is a good thing, especially towards newer players who are stuck with lower Concord Pass missions. Things that, you know, if, for example, using the bounties, obviously you get more points for bigger bounties, and if you're in a capital ship, you can get those big bounties faster. Therefore, you can fill up the Concord Pass a lot faster than someone who, you know, is relying on the 5 million ticks. I don't know. I think this is overall a good change. Certainly it means that, you know, you don't have to log in as intensively, you don't have to grind as intensively in order to get those same rewards. That's pretty cool. I like that part. The two minds comes from the fact that it's basically less work for the same reward. I think in this case it's probably a good thing. I just have a knee-jerk when things become simplified for the same rewards every time. Yeah, but ultimately I'm going with good thing on this one. Now, what is coming in this Concord Pass? Well, first of all, the Dark Halo Lucky Chest is going to be available. Dark Halo is one of the most popular nanocores out there for several ships, notably things like the Macariel and the Dramiel. Both do very well with that, and the Cinnabal, of course, the Angel ships. They are fast nanocores. They're about speed. They've got some good aggression to them. I really like these cores. I'm kind of glad to see them back. I am super sad that it's a chance to get the Dark Halo Nanocore Opt supply for frigates, battleships, etc. You have to purchase the chest for a chance at getting a Nanocore Opt supply. You don't just buy the Nanocore Opt on this one, you buy a supply chest that may have it in, and I am so freaking sick and tired of this crap being pulled in games like this. Rather than just, you know, hey, I don't know, 60,000 Concord credits buys you the Opt box. No, it's going to be something ridiculous like 2,500 Concord points, gets you a 1.5% chance, but you're guaranteed to get it if you pull 60 of those boxes. But joke's on you, we're only going to allow you to buy up to 25 of them, like they did before. It's bullshit. It is, just simply put, it's horrific, and I hate that that is the way this game is going now. That, no, we can't just give you the nice things, we've got to make you jump through all these hoops, these meaningless hoops, in order to achieve it. I am so against this. I will continue to rage at the devs for this, and anyone who says, oh, Benzie, your content is getting so negative these days, show me stuff to get excited for, and I'll get excited for it. I am. There's plenty of stuff I'm excited for coming to the game. I've talked about this, but I cannot overlook the absolute just horror show that NetEase is inflicting upon this game now, and I wish CCP would revoke the license and hand it off to Tencent or someone else. Tencent, still, not a great mobile game developer, but a damn sight better than this. I don't know. We are, however, getting the Exile and Ascension nanocores back for exchange. Nice to see the Exile ones coming into the store. Trailblazer, I've not been overly impressed with. Ascension still kind of beat those out for the most part for me. Yeah, I know people complain that, oh, the Ascension's bright, vibrant orange. Yeah, of course it is, and you can change that in the settings. I personally quite like the Ascension core, especially if you're using something like a Dawn skin. Looks really, really cool. But either way, they are good nanocores, and the Exile nanocores, I'll probably do a little video when these launch, actually doing some comparisons, talking about which ones might be better for your ships. But again, yeah, then we have that lower weekly point limit and lower max level. It's still the same amount of rewards, just less effort required to get there, which I do think is a good change. Speaking of good changes, let it never be said that I cannot admit when I am wrong. I was worried about the fuel system improvements when I talked about that in the Trello update. This was something that I honestly could see just being, oh, well, we've given every ship a fuel tank and just crap like that. But no, it's actually really cool in multiple ways. So the current fuel system, it says here, it has to calculate the fuel usage, search the ship hold for fuel, adjust the fuel mix ratio, because obviously different fuels produce different gigajoules, injects the fuel into the reaction chamber and transfers energy to modules. Now, okay, they've written that in kind of a lore fluffy way, but the point that they're trying to get at here is that using fuel does actually cost the server a lot of resources. We'll come back to that point. When using this system, some fuel is wasted when adjusting the fuel mix. The entire process also takes a long time to complete, resulting slow reaction in battle. The simple point here is that we talk about, oh, back in the days, we had fleets of 300 ships and no black screens, and nowadays we're getting black screens all over the place. Yeah, because one, the prevalence of drones, two, the complexity of the ships, there are more types of ships on the battlefield now, and three, fuel. I hadn't even thought of fuel being one of the considerations for that. Nina apparently has had some really long conversations with Melos and the devs about this, and it makes sense when you think about it, that if you have a module on your ship that is using fuel, the game constantly has to be searching your ship for how much fuel is left. When the activation happens, it needs to calculate how much of that fuel needs to be destroyed for that particular activation. It then needs to destroy it and activate it. There's a lot of complex processes going on there, and as we've got more shield field modules and armor link modules and other things that use fuel on the battlefield, those are constantly being used, and that affects the server load. So, the new system. All ships now have a fuel compartment for storing fuel, which you don't really see, which is used during the battle for instant energy delivery. When a module is activated, the fuel stored in the fuel compartment will be used directly, skipping the complex calculations and mixing and giving capsuleers a boost in combat efficiency. For structures, only combat modules will be using this system. The fuel system of structures themselves remains unchanged. How to refill. Basically, what you do here is when you are docked up at a station hangar or a ship hangar, tap a type of fuel and select refuel to refill the currently active ship. Basically, you just dock up. I did it with a Probe Explorer this morning. The fuel was in the cargo hold of that ship, but you can also do it from the hangar itself. Tap on the fuel, hit refuel, and it will inject that fuel, consume a certain amount of that fuel to refill the any modules on that ship that use fuel. In my case, that is the Explorer Wide Resonance Scanner. So now that is full. I can get rid of the fuel. I can put that fuel into the station hangar, forget about it. When I undock, it is full to the top, and I've got a whole load of activations that I can run on. Then when I dock up at a station, I can just inject more in it, and the game calculates, well, you've used this much fuel, this is how much you need to inject to reach 100% again. What this does, because again, there's a lot of confusion, and I've seen a lot of people going, oh, this doesn't change anything. Yeah, it really does. It means you have to be docked for those calculations to take effect. When you are docked, you consume the fuel. Like, the game then works out how much fuel do I need to fill this up, and it destroys that amount of fuel. It then has a percentage indicator, basically, for the actual icon itself, the actual module itself. When you activate it, so much energy is consumed, but it's out of a total amount. It's not having to work out, well, is it heavy water I'm using? Is it plasmids that I'm using? It just consumes the fuel, in inverted commas, in the imaginary tank. it doesn't have to do any of the calculations. It's already worked out how many gigajoules of fuel are in the tank while you were docked, because you've essentially taken plasmids and converted them straight into gigajoules. It doesn't matter what you've used now. The point is the tank is full, and so when you undock, it is just using that one number rather than having to do any form of complex calculation on the fly on the battlefield. This is a really nice change, because it also means that folks who want to use fuel mechanics and that, if like me you're exploring, you still need to carry fuel with you. But you don't have to have it just sitting in your cargo hold. Ultimately, I can inject the fuel into the system and top up my wide resonance scanner, and then it's just the remnant fuel that I bring with me. I don't have to, like, wait until I activate it to use some of that stack of fuel. I know that even if I don't bring any fuel with me, the modules themselves are good to go, but I'm still going to carry that fuel with me so that at a day's end of scanning, I can then consume the rest and just keep refilling that tank. For those who aren't necessarily, you know, moving with fuel, you just keep a load of fuel in your station hangar, you hit refuel on your ship, and it's no longer in your cargo space. You don't have to worry about that anymore. I like this. I've said for a long time that I don't like just adding a fuel tank because it doesn't really solve anything. It just sort of... it adds an extra step, if anything else. But here, this is elegant. Not only have they, you know, made it so that you don't need to be carrying fuel in your cargo hold anymore, they've also made it so that it doesn't have all that additional weight on the server. And that is freaking genius. Like, I don't praise NetEase much these days, but this is an incredibly creative system. On top of which, the fact that you're not undocking with raw fuel in a cargo hold anymore means that fuel doesn't drop when you're destroyed. If you're using a lot of modules, like I've got my Hurricane with its shield bursts and things like that, I'm going to refill all of those modules before I undock. I'm probably then going to leave the rest of the fuel in the station. This now means that when I'm destroyed, my fuel is never dropped. That means fuel is destroyed much more readily from the market. And like me, if you have a load of ships that use fuel, you might just have one stack of fuel that you move between those different ships. Now I'm going to have to buy more fuel, keep on top. Well, not buy more fuel, I'm producing fuel from stations. I can just do that, and I don't have to worry about the whole fact that heavy water takes up massive amounts of space in my cargo anymore. Ultimately, this change is genuinely genius. It does so much positive good for the game whilst simplifying things, and actually helps the fuel market as well, because there's going to be more demand for fuel because it's not something that you can get through PvP anymore. I'm not saying it's going to be a huge increase, but it means that that little bit of fuel now is destroyed, whereas it wouldn't have been before. And if, like me, you've got multiple ships using multiple modules, you can't just keep moving those stacks around. If I inject fuel into my Probe Explorer and then go, oh, well, actually, today I want to undock something else and use a wide resonance scanner, I have to inject fuel into that new ship. Or if, you know, I inject fuel into a wide resonance scanner, then I decide that I want to go and use my Thrasher Dicta, for example. I have to inject fuel into the Dictasphere launcher, which consumes all of that fuel. I can't just go, oh, well, I haven't actually used the Explorer. Screw it, I'll take the fuel out and put it in the Dicta. Oh, I only used a little bit, let me put that back into the Explorer. It destroys it, it consumes it, and that is so good for the game. I'm so happy to see this. I'm genuinely really excited about this. It works really, really well. I've been playing with it, I've been using it in modules, it's easy to use, and as it says at the bottom here, if a ship is repackaged or destroyed, the injected fuel will disappear. Excellent. Absolutely excellent. And general usage for fuel, 2 hours is what it's got injected in there, which is brilliant. It means that you do need to dock up from time to time, but it gives you that. Dormant Realm compensation offers. When you lose your ship or modules in Dormant Realm for the first 2 times during a week, you can get a better discount with your compensations. For the 3rd time and beyond during that week, the discount will return to normal. I want to sit here and say that, oh look, more loss of consumption, but at this point it's just kind of pointless harping on that same old dead horse. It's nice that we're getting that fuel consumption, but we're losing some consumption here from Dormant Realms. This may entice more people to do them, though, and more people doing Dormant Realms means more implants on the market, which will help crash the prices of those and make them reachable for other people. Overall, again, I think this is a good thing. I still think we need more destruction in the game, more consumption, and people do genuinely, and I mean this in the most genuine, loving way possible. I understand why people don't like losing their ships, but people do need to get over that. That's what this game is about. Losing a ship is not it's not the be all and end all. It doesn't happen as often as you may think it does. You should always have a backup ship ready. And if you're not ever losing a ship, what is even the point in grinding ISK? Like, once you hit Tech 10 and you've got your ship, what is the ISK for then? If you never lose a ship and you never have to replace it, that ISK is just a high score that does literally nothing. I don't know. Ultimately, for me, though, I think this is overall a positive change. Get more people into Dormant Realms and crash the implant market is something I'd be very, very much for. Optimizations, estimated price has been updated based on the market transaction record. I'm actually going to start printing this on t-shirts, I think. That is the NetEase seal of authenticity on the patch notes. If you don't see those, it's not a real patch note. Remote repair module and logistic drones are now stackable. Awesome. That's useful, especially as a logistics. I know a lot of people tend to split them anyway because they want to be able to heal multiple ships if they need to, but it gives you the choice, which I'm all okay for. The adjusted skill classification offering more specific categories, we'll come back to that. Optimized the reconnecting process when the connection is unstable to reduce disconnects. Basically, now the game will try to reconnect you in the background, and if it then fails to do that, you'll get the disconnect screen. Whereas before, you would just kind of, it's optimizing how it tries to hold on to your signal and what data it sends through to try and keep that connection. Nice change, hopefully it does something. But let's go back to point 3, adjusted skill classification, offering more specific categories. Some people have said, oh, does this mean they're adding new skills? They might actually have done. Was there a Mordu's Legion invention skill before today? Because I jumped in and checked through all of these looking for new skills, and I don't remember seeing Mordu's Legion and Sisters of Eve before, but I could be horrifically, wrong on that. Either way, though, no. For the most part, it's just moving the capital skills into their own categories. So now, whereas you have all the defense upgrades, like frigate defense upgrade, cruiser defense upgrade, so on, there is now a separate category, a new tab that you go into that will give you freighter and carrier and dreadnought and stuff like this. Basically, NetEase have said that, to themselves that, yeah, we're adding more capitals, there's more and more of these skills coming, it takes ages to scroll to the bottom of the list, so let's give them their own sections. I was hoping that this, Auto Mechanic suggested to me, does this mean that perhaps they could be looking to add new skills? They're widening these categories, which means if you're spending time and resources, doing this kind of change and shift, surely it must mean that there's a reason for that. You're not just going to move it for the hell of it. It's, future-proofing. And I do agree it is future-proofing, but not in a way I'd have hoped. I think it is just giving capitals a much more readily available list to choose from. It's much easier to find the capital skills now. It is worth noting that capital shield and capital armor are still under shield and armor respectively, but pretty much everything else now is under capital. You've got capital invention, you've got capital manufacture, you've got capital defense, you've got capital engineering skills, capital command skills, all in their own new things. And I'm okay with this. It's a nice change. It makes things easier for people to use. It means you don't have to scroll up and down. Fighters have their own weapon slot now, rather than it being under drone. It's now under fighters. These are good little changes. It does appear to mainly affect capital pilots, other than the fact that now it's much harder for me to accidentally scroll down past the drone skill because it stops on the drone skill rather than going through to fighter. But that's basically all this one is. Yes, it looks like it's future-proofing, but it looks like it's future-proofing for more capitals, which is... oh god, so disappointing. I swear, if the new Dormant Realm arrives and it is just a Dormant Realm for the new special carriers in inverted commas, I'm going to flip a lid. That will be when we riot. That may even be when I just finally give up the ghost and quit EVE Echoes for good, because it's clear at that point that this game is not anything that I want to continue working with. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm just overdosing on copium right now. I hope you guys are still enjoying the game. I am still enjoying the game. It's just so disappointing to hold out hope for things that just, in the future. And for those of you doing the in the future drinking game, you are welcome. In the future, says NetEase, we're adding this stuff in the future, and it turns out that in the future just means that ephemeral distant time by the time we're eventually done adding absolutely everything to capitals and the game's already dead because people have just given up. Anyway, let's not end up things on a really bad note. I am excited for the fuel. I really like that. I'm looking forward to seeing the new Concord pass and how that actually works. I think there's a lot of positives in these patches, in this particular patch, and I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Otherwise, folks, thank you for listening to me ramble on all the way to the end. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!